Hello, everyone. Hello and welcome to our final IAG Global Assembly of 2021. I would like to start, please, with a few quick housekeeping items. Firstly, a reminder that this meeting is being recorded. Secondly, throughout today's event, if you'd like to ask a question, please write in the live chat, and we will also leave the meeting open for around 20 minutes at the end for those of you who want to continue the conversation. Thirdly, I can report that we have a quorum for our assembly today, and we have satisfied the quorum requirements for the proxy votes later. So once again, welcome to you all from your IAG board and the admin office team. We are again delighted that by the number of members that were able to attend today. The last count was 60 registrations, with 32 organizations registered from 18 jurisdictions. That's a very impressive international audience, I must say. A particular thank you to those of you that are joining us very early or very late in the day. So I would like to extend a very warm welcome on behalf of the board and the admin office. The welcome to our IAG prospective members, Dario, Gavin, and Salvatore from Oxford, and Francesca and Howard from Wendell Rosen. Welcome to our guest speaker, Mark Roberts of GAP Personnel, as well as welcome to Akshat Pandey, who will be joining IAG member Rajan Gupta later in the program to talk about exciting developments in India. And of course, welcome to all our IAG members, contacts, and your colleagues. You are all very welcome here. Well, let me just give you a brief outline of our meeting today. The details of today's program have been circulated, and they include my report, where I will try to shortly focus on the IAG growth, referrals, board activities, the IAG events program, financial matters, as well as IAG business and the results of the members' proxy votes. Then we will get on to introduction to a prospective IAG member from the United States, the presentations from two IAG members on significant recent developments at their firms, a case study of a recent IAG collaboration, and of course, a chance to network with your fellow members and IAG friends. Then we will have a chance to have a short break. And after the break, we will hear from our guest speaker on a subject that is always very close to our hearts, recruitment and retention of people, especially now. This will include a chance to ask questions and to get together with your fellow members to discuss some of the issues that have been raised in that session. Then I will simply wrap up around 8 p.m. Central European time, after which the meeting will remain open for further networking and for any possible remaining questions you have for our speaker. Okay, so let me get to the first point of my report. I will try to do my best and do it as short as possible, although I have a lot of information to be presented. I would like to start with a quick look back at another very busy few months for IAG. Well, I am delighted to report that yet again, there is a significant increase in referral activity since our last assembly, and a very healthy pipeline of interest for potential new members. IAG also continues to grow organically with some exciting developments on member firms. Indeed, two members will be announcing significant recent news from their firms later in the program. Please, once again, can I encourage you to let Charlie in the admin office or even me know of any news in your firm so we can share it both on our website and our LinkedIn pages and potentially at future events. This is always a great profile for you within IAG to generate referral and joint business development opportunities. And this is also very helpful for other members to hear about your capabilities and where you are able to help their clients. Well, going then to the new member inquiries. In terms of new members, we are currently in discussion with 11 firms interested in joining IAG from United Kingdom, Europe, Asia, US, Canada, and Africa. So I must say, in these uncertain times, it is a significant achievement that IAG continues to attract such a healthy level of interest. Please, can I also issue a plea to all members to help IAG to attract new members and bring on candidates with the quality and ethos that are so important to our success. If you work with professional services organizations that you trust and respect, please consider whether they might make a good IAG member. Of the steady stream of new member inquiries that we regularly receive, only a handful are suitable for IAG membership. And the most appropriate candidates invariably come from members' recommendations. So please help us continue to build our very special organization. Any suggestions to me, a member of the board, or Charlie, please don't hesitate. Okay, so focusing on the referral activity, in the period since our last assembly, the number of IAG referrals and the geographical spread have continued the long-term upward trend. Well, since our last General Assembly in June, the admin office has seen referrals involving 24 countries. As always, I should emphasize that these are only the referral opportunities that the admin office is aware of. And therefore, these do not include the numerous collaborations and the introductions that take place directly between members. Please, once again, I would like to ask you, all of you, to let the admin office know of any potential collaborations that you are involved in with other IAG members. It is important that we are aware of these. Thank you. Well, let's focus on the board now. I will start with the news, well, sad news for all of us, that Stephanie Pschorr, the IAG Vice Chair, has decided to step down from the board because of other work commitments. Stephanie has been a board member since 2017 and has supported both John Ridgway and myself as Vice Chair. She is a passionate supporter of IAG and a long-standing and very active member, so her presence on the board has been extremely valuable. Stephanie will continue on the board hopefully until the end of the year, and I will therefore say a proper thank you to Stephanie at a later date. But so far, we will miss you, Steph, your experience, your wisdom, but as important, the sense of fun that you bring to any IAG board gathering, whether an IAG monthly board call or one of the many assembly board meetings that you have attended over the years. On the subject of board meetings, I must say that in September this year, as COVID restrictions relaxed in much of the UK and Europe and US, board member Jim Miller was on a visit to Italy. That sounds interesting. The IAG board took the opportunity to meet in person in Milan. Andrew Fleming was unfortunately unable to join the meeting in person from US, but did manage to take part on screen for the final session. So he joined us online at 5:30 in the morning in Chicago. So the rest of the board were able to be here. This was a hugely valuable meeting for this mostly new board and was the first time that the board members had been able to meet in person since Zurich in February 2020. The board took this opportunity to discuss key IAG operations and strategy, and we will make sure that the many actions and priorities that we agreed in Milan will drive development of IAG in the months and years ahead for the benefits of all members. The value of the 6 board members and Charlie in the admin office meeting in person really emphasized how important it is that we all meet up face to face as soon as travel restrictions around the world allow. Chester in May is, I know, a date in the diary that we are all looking forward to. Considering the upcoming events, just to confirm, our next physical assembly will take place right in Chester, England, on the 19th to 22nd of May next year. I know it's a lot of time, but still, trust me, it's going to be very soon. We are hopeful that after May, we will be able to return to meeting in person 3 times a year. And we are hoping that we will be able to then meet in October in Chicago. more information as plans would develop. This is what we have all missed, and it is such an important part of how we build relationships and friendships across the network. However, we also use the restrictions and uncertainty of the last year and have as an opportunity for IAG to evolve. You have probably noticed that during this time, we have moved our global assemblies online and also launched a new series of virtual IAG remote events. So, as our global assemblies return to physical meetings, we do plan to continue our IAG remote series. The board feels strongly that these events will add real value to members between our 3 physical assemblies each year. This will, at least initially, involve some extra cost under our event budget, but we will monitor this carefully. Our IAG remote events have been very well attended, and the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. The board and the admin office are keen to receive any suggestions for future topics at IAG remote events and any offers of help hosting from members. A big thank you to the host of the first 3 events in this series. Well, going then to financial matters. The adjusted 2021 financial position and the 2022 budget has been circulated. I am happy to report that we continue to be in a very sound financial position, thanks to the very wise financial stewardship of past chairman, John, treasurers and board members. Our revenues continue to hold up extremely well, and a conservative approach to expenditures means that IAG maintains a healthy surplus. At the June General Assembly, John Ridgway pointed out that we made provisions for bad debts in the revised budgets, taking COVID into account for both 2020 and 2021. Although these amounts have not been realized, we have continued this approach in our draft 2022 budget, given the unpredictability of global pandemic. Although we plan to maintain a cautious approach to budgets with the continued unpredictability of the pandemic, we have budgeted for some careful investments in priority areas for IAG over the next year. The 3 important areas that we have identified for investments are IAG events, the website, and our wider communications. I have already talked about our events program and the return to face-to-face meetings, as well as our plans to maintain our virtual program IAG Remote and the budget considerations from that. So I will now say a few words about our other 2 investment priorities for the months ahead, the website and the wider communications. First, the website. We have developed a website considerably over the last 2 years, largely driven by the considerable amount of amazing content generated by members for our virtual events, from case studies, presentations, video clips from other member firms, to guest speaker sessions, to IAG discussions, updates, and developments. The website was identified for further development during the recent board meeting in Milan. The board are keen for the website to become a more active hub for IAG, and particularly for communication with members and between members. There is so much happening across IAG on a day-to-day basis, and it is important that members are able to keep in touch with this activity and to share their own updates and developments with fellow members. And this brings me to our wider communications capabilities. As we have discussed on previous occasions, the board has been looking to increase IAG's communications capability within the admin office for some time now. In Milan, we made some significant progress on this. We are now in position where we think we have an excellent candidate to develop all areas of IAG communications. This person will work closely with the board and the admin office to drive forward all areas of our communications, but with a particular emphasis on content, including our marketing to attract new members, our website, our social media strategy, and our internal communications with and between members. This is a really exciting development for IAG, and I look forward to being able to make further announcements very soon. So those are just some headlines from the budget and financial investment. which we have asked you to approve via proxy as is required by our Constitution. And to follow on directly from that, I would now like to turn to the important IAG business and the proxy vote. I can announce that we have the quorum with the proxies that have been submitted. The following is the result of the votes delivered by proxy to the chairman and the admin office. First, administrative and financial members. The minutes of our last meeting, being the virtual General Assembly in June 2021, have been approved, so thank you. The IAG revised budget for 2021 and the budget for 2022 have also been approved. Thank you once again. Secondly, our new member candidate, Oxford in Singapore, has also been unanimously approved. This has immediate effect. Thank you, and now congratulations to all the representatives of our new member candidate. We are very excited to have you on board. That, fortunately, concludes the long chairman's report and the delivery of the results of the voting. Thank you, everyone, once again, for your assistance with this process. I know that getting the POAs from all of you was time-consuming, so once again, thank you. Season's greetings to you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thomas, for that really helpful update. Some really interesting things going on with IAG at the moment. I think it's important to let everybody know that it continues to be a really busy time for IAG at the moment. Lots of exciting developments, as you've touched on, Thomas. And I have to say, I've greatly enjoyed my first few months on the board, being a new board member, so thank you very much for that. I'm very impressed as well by all the enthusiasm and the energies at the Milan board meeting. Well, without further ado, I'm now really delighted to introduce Francesca Boyd and Howard Lint, who will provide an introduction to our observer firm from Oakland, California, Wendell Rosen, who we are very hopeful will be joining IAG next year. Over to you.
Thank you so much for having us. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever this finds you today, and season's greetings. I'm a partner here at Wendell Rosen, a law firm in Oakland, California. I'm very proud to be presenting our application for membership. Some of you may have known my father, David Keener, who was an active member of IAG until he passed away in 2016. I was able to attend an assembly with him in Copenhagen, and it was an incredible experience for us both. So again, I'm particularly pleased to be here today presenting our firm, Wendell Rosen, as an applicant. I think we'd be an excellent fit to join you at IAG. My partner, Howard Lind, and I are here to tell you just a little bit about our firm. On slide 1, you can see that for California standards, we're quite an old firm, very established here in the East Bay, which is directly across the San Francisco Bay from San Francisco. And as our name has evolved over the years, we are now called Wendell Rosen, LLP. On slide 2, again, we are one of the oldest and largest law firms here in the East Bay. We're just about 10 minutes from the financial district of San Francisco, very well located. And our largest presence is here in our Oakland office at 1111 Broadway, which is a central location right in the heart of downtown Oakland. We also maintain 2 smaller offices a bit farther east in Walnut Creek and Modesto, California. Slide 3 demonstrates that we have a total of 61 attorneys, again, most of which are located and work here in Oakland. Howard will speak to our capabilities, but I do want to point to the quantity of attorneys that we have, which we also take great pride in. We find that our size is not too small and not too big, and we enjoy quite a bit of collaboration and cross-reference among all of our capabilities here. Also, our firm, very much like the city of Oakland, takes great pride in our diversity and in terms of our work environment, our client base, and all of the engagements that we find ourselves in. You'll see on slide 4, we're very active in our community. on an individual basis. Again, to slide 4. Thank you. We have a committee of attorneys here that are dedicated to coordinate community involvement. In fact, we were just featured in the East Bay Times as we had 16 volunteers over our American Thanksgiving holiday, which was last week, packaging, loading, and distributing over 3,000 Thanksgiving meals to seniors, low-income families, and unhoused residents here in the East Bay. So we're quite proud of our investment and activity in our local community. But I would like to pass the baton to my partner, Howard, to speak to our professional capabilities on slide 5.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening. So I think that the best way to think of our capabilities is to realize that our clients are small to mid-sized businesses. And we try to select the substantive areas that they would need. We also have select areas where we have larger clients that would use us more on a boutique basis. We also represent some institutions such as the University of California, and we also represent mid and high net worth individuals, particularly in estate planning, which is where Francesca is. So pretty easy to look at what we cover here. We do not cover family law, and we don't get involved in criminal law, but other than that, we're involved in generally the substantive areas that we think that the small and mid-sized businesses would need. On the business side, that practice group deals with mergers and acquisitions, entity formation. We just concluded a very large redemption agreement that and transaction that took over a year, had maybe 150 different documents and multiple parties, dealt with property in Mexico and the United States. We also deal with the various business contracts that are inherent in business transactional work. On the construction side, we get involved in construction contracts as well as construction disputes. We have a couple of partners that are in construction litigation that are actually quite busy right now. Employment, we deal with both employer side and employee side. Environmental, this is an area that has been dwindling recently as cleanup funds have been dwindling, but we still have 4 partners that are active in the environmental area. Estate planning, maybe I'll come back to that. Francesca, if you want to hit that at the end. Green business, we were the first certified green law firm in the state. When we turned to be a green business, we went two-sided copying, which we calculated saved us a certain number of reams of paper, which equated to 200 trees, which we were pretty proud of. Some of it didn't work so well, like the cornstarch fumes that melted in the soup, but generally our turning green was a success. We have Donald Simon, who was instrumental in California in formulating B Corps, which focus on environmental and sustainability issues and not on profitability. And then solvency and bankruptcy department represent debtors, creditors, and trustees. Insurance, we deal with some coverage, but obviously very involved on transactional side, both in real estate and business. Intellectual property, we're actually heavily in the food industry, trademark, trade name, et cetera, and intellectual property licensing. On land use, it's one of our larger practice groups, whereas land use is generally fairly localized. We do have connections throughout the greater Bay Area, and so the partners there have pretty good inroads with the various contacts in the cities and municipalities. Real estate, we've been known for real estate for a long time, which is where I work. Pure purchase and sale agreements, leases, ground leases, representing developers, doing real estate financing. One area that we're particularly strong in, we have 2 partners that focus on secured real property transactions. In California, that's a fairly unique area with laws that go back to the Great Depression, and these 2 actually teach that or have taught that at UC Berkeley, and so we have that specialty as well. Technology is a subset of our business practice group, get involved in technology and licensing. And then finally, tax, which touches a lot of things. Our tax experts are used by the business practice group. I use them a lot on real estate. Estate planning uses them. And then kind of a subset on the tax is the real property tax. California has some unique laws with regard to real estate taxes, and we have an expert in that. And so those are our capabilities. And Francesca, maybe I turn back to you to talk a little bit about the estate planning group, which is one of our larger groups as well.
Yeah, thank you. We do have quite a dynamic estate planning group. We have 8 attorneys committed to all areas of estate planning, estate administrative law, wealth management, and wealth transfer planning. So we draft complicated wills and trust agreements. We probate estates, administer trusts representing fiduciaries and beneficiaries. We also are always analyzing, intricate estate and gift taxation matters and advising fiduciaries, beneficiaries, et cetera. We also represent corporate clients in business succession, charitable transfers, and tax compliance work. We're uniquely positioned here at Wendell Rosen because we have not just estate planners, but also estate litigators. So we're able to add a unique value to our clients. Often estate planning law firms only do the planning side or only do the litigation side. Here we can offer them the perspective from both angles. So in conclusion, I just would like to thank you all so much for taking the time to listening to a bit about our firm. Again, so happy to be here today and very much hoping to join you. Happy holidays to all of you.
Oh, thank you, Francesca, and thank you, Howard, as well, for taking the time to join us today. We're absolutely delighted to have you both at the Global Assembly, and we do look forward very much to you hopefully joining us as members very soon. We now move on to 2 presentations looking at some exciting recent developments in IAG member firms and hearing what these developments mean for our IAG members. Our first presentation today will be led by Rajan Gupta and Akshat Pandey on recent exciting news from IAG member Rajan and Indraneel in India. Rajan, of course, we all know, and Akshat, we will leave you to introduce yourself, but you are very welcome at your first IAG Global Assembly. Thank you both very much on behalf of the board for joining us at this very late hour.
It's my pleasure, Helen, and thanks for once again introducing the merged firm to IAG Global. And as the members are aware that I was leading the firm Chambers of Rajan and Indraneel, which is the original member firm of IAG Global. However, I myself and Akshat, we both knew each other for last about 12, 13 years because we were together in our previous law firms working together on various transactions and part of the same team. So during last 1.5 years, actually, we have been discussing how to integrate our practices and provide better capabilities and resources to our clients and therefore grow together. And finally, about 3 months back, we decided to bite the bullet and started integrating our practices and the law firm. And finally, we have reached this stage where we are now an integrated law firm. And the law firm which was being led by Akshat was named Alpha Partners. So we have now adopted this new name, Alpha Rajan and Partners, which is the integrated law firm. And by integrating these 2 practices, we are having now far better capabilities, much more resources, and in terms of enhanced reach across the country as well. And as you can see in the first page, previously in Chambers of Rajan and Indraneel, we were only 2 partners and 1 associate partner. And now we are having 2 co-founding partners and 3 other partners who would be leading the respective practice areas. So in terms of the practice areas, definitely the firm now is a full service law firm. And but before going into the practice areas, and for which I would actually invite Akshat to join in and explain. Before doing that, I would like to introduce Akshat, in fact. So Akshat has been a lawyer for more than 18 years now. And he is obviously a qualified lawyer in India, and he has done his LLM and solicitorship in UK as well. And he is eligible to, obtain license to practice as a solicitor in England and, in UK as well. And so therefore, and his areas of expertise have been corporate commercial laws, mergers and acquisition. And in addition to that, he has, expertise in intellectual property rights, as well as information technology related legal practice areas. So he has been, he would be a great help in enhancing such kind of practice areas and offerings to the clients. So with this, I would like to invite Akshat to explain further capabilities of the integrated firm.
Yeah, thank you, Rajan. Thank you so much for that kind introduction. You made my job much easier, actually. Like Rajan said, we know each other for a long time now, and we worked in our earlier firms together. And now, after so many years, we are again started to working together. As far as practice areas are concerned, the combined firm, like Rajan's firm, was already doing some of the areas of practices included herein, but what we have added here is greater focus on cross-border transactions, M&A, mainly commercial law advisory. We also have a large focus on practice areas such as private equity and venture capital. So we work a lot in these areas specifically for early stage companies, tech companies, e-commerce, fintech, etc. These kind of areas. We also have an established practice in real estate. Which basically includes, all kinds of transactions in real estate, sale, purchase, leasing, subleasing, licensing, development agreements, large-scale infrastructure projects, etc. We also have added a new line of practice in the litigation vertical of the firm, which we do a lot, which is white-collar crimes and cyber crimes. So my partner, who was there in the earlier slide, Sumit, he does mainly white-collar crimes and cybercrime related cases. As an introduction myself, I think Rajan has introduced me, but I'm a first generation lawyer. I am also a registered company secretary with the Institute of Company Secretaries of India. I did my postgrad in the UK, and I registered as a solicitor there, and have been working and practicing as a corporate lawyer for last 17, 18 years now. Our firm was set up, Alpha Partners was set up in 2012 with a humble beginning of 2 partners and 1 associate, and now we add around 15 lawyers to Rajan's firm. So the combined strength would be around 25 lawyers and 2 offices, 1 in Delhi and 1 in Bangalore. As part of the future plans that we have, we intend to have at least 2 to 3 partners added to our corporate and litigation verticals, respectively, and also to add 1 more jurisdiction, at least in India, preferably Mumbai, in next 1 year. So I think that's as far as the international relations is concerned, apart from the very valued association with IAG, we are also part of International Bar Association, IPPA, and in a smaller organization called Juris, which we enjoy relationships since last 3 years, I guess. So that's it for me, and I really look forward to being part of IAG and hopefully meet everybody in person next time. And thank you so much. Happy holidays to everybody. Thanks.
Thank you to Rajan and to Akshat for the exciting update, and congratulations both of you on the merger. Thanks also for explaining the significant benefits of the merger to IAG members and for informing us of all the recent developments with your firm. So moving on to our second presentation, this is going to be led by Colin Bird of the Isle of Man member Maitland, who is joining us from South Africa. Welcome, Colin.
Thank you, Helen. Hello, everybody. I wish we could all be together, but hopefully that'll happen in the not too distant future. If we can just hold the slide there, thank you. There's been some recent developments at Maitland, which I'd like to share with everybody. I think they're quite exciting. Maitland, as you know us, if we could go to slide 2, please, comprises of essentially 3 service areas. We talk private client services, corporate services, and institutional services. Private client in our world comprises legal services, fiduciary, and investment. Corporate services also legal and fiduciary, and then the institutional was fund administration. If we move to the next slide, we have Stonehage Fleming has recently acquired the Maitland private client and corporate services business. Stonehage has a very similar DNA to Maitland. We have very similar roots. The Stonehage part of Stonehage Fleming also comes out of South Africa originally. Coincidentally, it's the same year that Maitland was founded as well. The Fleming side goes back much further. The Fleming family is well known in Europe on the investment side. All the people we've met so far, we seem to have a very similar culture, similar work ethic, and so on. So it looks as though it'll be a very good match. It's not yet completed. We're still subject to some final regulatory approvals. I think we needed 6 or 7 different jurisdictions to approve. We still need 2, which we believe are coming quite soon. And so we're expecting completion in mid-January 2022. So next slide. What does this mean for our clients and our staff? So there are approximately 300 of us from the Maitland side will transfer to Stonehage Fleming. The combined firm will have approximately 900 staff, and we will, my slide I'm afraid is a typo there, there'll be 17 offices across 14 jurisdictions. So still getting to know the bigger beast. There will be no changes to our client service team. So the clients will still be dealing with the same people that they do currently. And so clients shouldn't see any difference other than really a change of branding and a change of name. Where we have offices, both Stonehage Fleming and Maitland in the same jurisdictions, those offices will be merging together and combining. And together, we understand that the combined firm will be the biggest provider of family office services across Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. So if we go to the next slide, will shows you where the various offices are. So you can see fairly extensive, North America, Toronto and Philadelphia, South Africa, Johannesburg and Cape Town, Mauritius, then Israel, and then Europe represented with Luxembourg, 3 offices in Switzerland, Neuchâtel, Geneva and Zurich, and then a small office in Liechtenstein, and the Maitland, Monaco and Malta offices are coming in there. And then the British Isles is well covered with London, the Isle of Man, Jersey and Guernsey. So I think you'll agree, fairly extensive coverage there. And the next slide will go on to what are the combined services. From a technical point of view, the services will be delivered seamlessly through 3 divisions, which will be called Family Office, Corporate Legal and Tax, and Investment Management. I think that's really what is behind the scenes. As far as clients are concerned, they will just have the services delivered that they require from whichever division that happens to be. And what are those services? If we go to the next slide, there's a vast array of services for private clients. I think this expands the services that Maitland previously offered quite considerably. And so we're very excited to be able to offer a very broad suite, as I say, of services. So succession and governance, that's to do succession planning and family governance largely, fiduciary services, which is trusteeships, directorships, company secretarial services, trust and company administration, and so on across various jurisdictions. Family business advisory, again, assisting families in matters relating to the family business. That might include succession planning, governance, structuring, and fiduciary services, risk management, and a whole range of corporate finance advice. There are insurance services available too. We're not an insurance broker, so that will maintain independence. But through the insurance services team, we're able to procure insurance for not only assets and that are owned by structures that we might be looking after, but they're also able to help families with things like travel insurance and life insurance and so on. Family office services are something that obviously Maitland and StoneEgg has a very deep history with, and that's helping families a whole range of their affairs, from the long-term planning to routine transactions and administration, and keeping all the knowledge in one place. Legal and tax obviously spreads across all of the sort of services I've been talking about, but tax planning and structuring, as well as transactional work, corporate and commercial work, and so on. The Maitland legal team brings a bit more depth to what the StoneEgg Fleming law previously had, although there's quite a lot of overlap as well. Wealth planning is a team that is focused on UK resident and domiciled, providing support for their financial planning and so on. Philanthropy, again, something we've got lots of experience with, helping families design appropriate philanthropic structures, putting them together, running them, and helping even with the investment side. If we go to the next slide, I did warn you there was a long suite of services. Investment management, that's both discretionary investment management and investment advisory services across a whole range of asset classes. There's a dealing and treasury team, which is very useful for providing banking and investment administration, including cash management, deal execution, and custody. Corporate finance, the team there provides advice right through the corporate lifestyle, from acquisitions and capital raising through to disposals and liquidity events. The art management team is quite good. This team actually Maitland's worked with for many, many years as well, providing governance and legal oversight, cataloging of art collections, assistance with exhibition loans for exhibitions and so on, the logistics of moving art when it's bought and sold and so on. The private equity team is really bringing opportunities to our clients to invest in private equity, either through funds or through direct investments where opportunities come through our team. The expert reporting is something that can provide clients with a consolidated report across their assets. So when client says, how rich am I today, we can provide a report across all their assets. Corporate services, again, is company services. A lot of the in the current world, it's more and more complicated from a legal and regulatory environment, so ensuring compliance and so on. We help with all of that. And then finally, property advisory, that's just a private property search service within a network of trusted advisors. So it's very exciting. I think there's a huge range of services we can offer to private clients and corporate clients there. And I look forward to bringing more detail of that, hopefully in person in the not too distant future. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Colin. Thanks very much for that really interesting presentation. Congratulations on the developments for Maitland. Clearly enormous potential for our member firms from this move. So looking forward to hearing a lot more detail when the dust settles. We're now going to watch a recording. Thanks, Colin. And we've now got a recording of a case study with Thomas and Yasmin that should follow shortly.
Okay, hello Yasmin.
Hi Thomas.
It's nice to have you here. As an introduction, we have the pleasure to shortly describe our joint initiative that we had together with Yasmin between Poland and Switzerland. We had an M&A project this year So using this occasion and this assembly, we wanted to shortly describe what actually happened and how it worked out. Okay, Yasmin, as you're the star of this presentation, just please tell me if you can shortly describe the project and what was actually the project about.
Sure. I mean, I think it's a Polish client of yours, Tomasz, and so we have been asked as Steiger to assist you in the due diligence for the acquisition of a Swiss company by this Polish client, and also further on to negotiate the SPA together with you, Tomasz.
Yes, that is true. And as I said, the project involved both members, as does Schinskalm and Steiger, and we were located in Poland and Switzerland. And how, from your perspective, was the cooperation between those two members of IAG?
For me, it was great. So you have to tell whether you had the same feelings. I mean, I got very used to our phone calls a couple of times a week. So for me, the cooperation was very, very good. And also, I think we have learned that the Swiss and the Polish law is not that different as we might have thought. And I think it was a very good experience to work with you, to be honest.
Especially, yeah, I would have to say that I have the same approach and the same opinion about our cooperation. But the funniest part is that the signing of the transaction was during my vacation, and I think closing was also during my second vacation and Yasmin's vacation and the client's vacation. So the funniest thing about the closing is that our client, our common joint client, had to swim with his boat in the marina to transfer the price online from his boat on vacation. So that was the funniest part. Okay, so
and we had
course,
the possibility to have phone calls during our
yeah. That was always funny. And I revealed the answer to my last question. So was the deal closed successfully?
Yes, it was. I mean, for our client, I think he got what he wanted, and also for us. I mean, the cooperation was very good, and the client was very happy. For me, it is also very nice because the client has a company here in Switzerland, which in legal questions I still can assist. So I'm thankful.
So all the good parts, all the good sides of this cooperation, and from our perspective, it was great that we were able to help our client in Switzerland, which at the very beginning was for him something that, like terra incognita, he didn't know actually what he was facing. But we were able to, thanks to IAG connections, we were able to simply assist him from the beginning to the end. Okay, thank you very much, Yasmin.
Thank you.
And I really hope to have a second cooperation like this and following ones. Right. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Thomas and Yasmin. This is clearly another excellent example of the quality of collaborations that are taking place across our network. We're now going to move into our breakout rooms for the first of our networking sessions. As you'll all be used to by now, we will be randomly sorted and moved into a room with 6 or 7 other members. Each room will have an IAG board member as a facilitator who has kindly agreed to keep the conversation moving for us, to take notes on what's been discussed, and of course to send a summary of what is discussed to Charlie in our admin office. Please can you all take this opportunity to share any observations you have on being a member of IAG, and particularly to give your views on 2 areas of the IAG's communications. What IAG information would members like to have available to present to clients, and what additional information would members find helpful on the IAG website? As Thomas mentioned, we're hoping to have a new communications person joining the admin office very shortly. And so this feedback from today's session will therefore be particularly valuable to us as a board. After this networking session, we're going to go straight into our 10-minute break. And the programme will then commence at 15 minutes past the hour. During this break, you will be able to enjoy short videos filmed on the phones of some of our next generation IAG members. So I think the plan is now to move into those breakout rooms.
What IAG means to me over now 12 years of attending and a high level and satisfactory business flow both in and outbound. It means trust. It means highly skilled professional and value for money for the clients. But it also means family faces, tons of laughters, numerous pints of beer and countless bottles of wine, and I'm longing to resume our in-person meetings.
Hi, it's Agnieszka Uszpak-Zając from STZ Legal Shinhelm, Poland. What IAG means to me? IAG gives me the comfort that when it comes to the international businesses of our clients, I can meet their needs with the help of reliable lawyers from other countries. Lawyers from IAG who are trustworthy, provide high quality services, and who are very often also my friends, or at least friends of my friends. IAG stands for trust, competence, and proven quality. But remember, this is not just another boring organization. IAG also stands for the joy of being and meeting together. The meetings organized by IAG are legendary, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Combining professionalism and fun, IAG is a perfect match for me.
What does IAG means to me? In law school, we were taught that you don't need to know everything, but you just have to know where to find it. To paraphrase, IAG is knowing who to write to or who to call. It gives you a sense of confidence that your client will get competent service from colleagues almost all over the world. It's a manifestation of the core value, freedom, the fragility of which we have particularly come to realize in the last 2 years. And of course, IAG offline meetings. It's like a class reunion. It motivates you to develop, but in a circle of like-minded people. That is always a pleasure.
Hello everyone from a very cold and rainy Dublin. Just wanted to say hi to everyone and hope everyone is doing well over the last very difficult almost 2 years. It's been great to be able to keep in touch with everyone through the meetings that we have online, but obviously nothing really compares to meeting in person, so we look forward to hopefully being able to do that next year. Just wanted to talk a little bit about what IAG means to us. Firstly, we've built up some excellent professional contacts throughout the many years that I've been attending the conference, right through from my trainee solicitor days to now being a partner in Morning Ryan, along with Seamus Conley and Chris Conley. Hopefully you'll meet him soon. Especially, as you can imagine, from Ireland with our nearest neighbours in the United Kingdom, so Burkitts have been really important to us. Also around Europe and in the States as well. Also, we've built up many professional and personal relationships. We've built up friendships with our fellow members. And we really enjoy getting to know people from all around the world, and also in the meetings seeing cities that and towns that we would never normally see, and also to see them with people who actually live there, so we get to see it as locals. So just once again, just wanted to express all my best wishes to everyone. And I very much look forward to seeing you all again in person next year. Take care, and at this point I think we can say Happy Christmas.
What does IAG mean to me? Thanks, Lauren, for the great question. Austria is going back to a lockdown right now because of many people that don't want to get vaccinated. So IAG means an outlook to a normal future, to international life, to going abroad, to meeting friends, and to getting new interesting cases without having to care about masks in the future, or even without having to care about my dying plants in the office. So I'm really looking forward to seeing you at the next online meeting, and even much more looking forward to seeing you at the next real meeting and maybe having a beer at a bar. So see you guys.
Okay, well, welcome back to the meeting, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed hearing the messages from some of our next generation IAG members on what IAG means to me. And hopefully some of what was said resonates with all of you, whether you are new members or whether you've been members for some time. I'd now like to take this opportunity to introduce our esteemed guest speaker, Mark Roberts. Mark is the Managing Director of Gap Personnel Holdings, which is part of Benex Inc., a Japanese company listed on the Tokyo Stock Exchange. Mark's got over 20 years industry experience, beginning his recruitment career with Gap Personnel in 1998. During this time, he's progressed from recruitment consultant through to regional manager, holding the position now of Managing Director since 2013. He is also a director of Driving Force Recruitment, Global Personnel Group, Kerr Multilingual and Gap Healthcare. Today, Mark's going to share his experience and expertise on recruitment challenges and the developments in the current environment, with some observations from me probably along the way in respect of law firms and well, from an employment lawyer perspective. Mark will also be taking questions towards the end of the session, so please do engage and ask your questions using the Zoom chat throughout. Mark will then lead us into a 15-minute networking session at the end, where we can all discuss some of the valuable points raised during Mark's session, and of course share our own experiences with other members today. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Mark.
Thank you, Helen.
Hi, Mark, thanks for joining us.
No, thanks for the invite, and nice to meet with everyone. And that was a wonderful introduction, and one we'll have to get the recording so I can write that on my CV, because it definitely looks a lot more impressive on my CV. So yeah, thanks. I know that we've got around about 20 minutes to go through the presentation in whole, and I mean, Helen did a great job at giving the background. So I think one of the things I just want to start off by saying, you know, predominantly the businesses that I'm involved with, we recruit within the UK. We do recruit within Europe, albeit that is a younger part of our business. But again, as Helen rightly said, we're part of an organisation that turns over about £1.2 billion globally, which is the Benex Group, who have operations in China, Vietnam, obviously the UK, Japan, and are, you know, one of, or certainly progressing towards being, you know, one of the sort of top 10 recruitment businesses sort of globally. So my predominant experiences of the UK, but I think that what's happened in the market over the last 12 months, which is what I want to really focus on, is fairly typical across a large number of markets, and certainly markets within Europe. So hopefully some of the tips, albeit the stats are based on the UK market, will be of use to everyone. So I just wanted to start that by giving an overview of what's causing, I guess, the tight market at the moment. So if we can just move to the next slide, please. And maybe if we just click everything onto this slide. So I think there's 5. In fact, there'll be one more click and then it'll give us the banner at the bottom. That's it, perfect. So these stats are based on the UK market. They're fairly live stats. I should have said that, you know, our business or business units, we recruit everything from sort of shop floor, if you like, blue collar, but we also have pretty large divisions, UK and in Europe, but also Benext are recruiters within more senior levels, so much more white collar, much more professional services. So this landscape gives a flavour of the market. So at the moment in the UK, there's 1.1 million job vacancies as of September, and we've got an unemployment rate that is lower than the pre-pandemic unemployment rate, and I'll talk about that a little bit further on. Well, at the bottom it sort of spells it out. And as I've said, their live vacancies now match or exceed pre-pandemic levels. But if you look at that final tab there, it's saying there's 1 million people less within our labour market. And outside of Brexit and the impact of Brexit on the UK labour market, actually what's happened in the UK is fairly typical across a number of other markets. During the pandemic, young people opted for longer in further education, and a number of older people within the labour market exited the labour market early. So that's again added to contraction in the market. Now, apologies, I made this slide slightly. I didn't represent this properly. This ratio of jobless people, it shouldn't have a percent on it. But what we had at the peak of the pandemic was 4.1 applicants for every live job. Whereas today we've got the lowest in 40 years, where we've got 1.4 applicants per live job. But data that's now coming out and we're seeing is kind of showing a bit of stagnation, which is, yes, the unemployed levels are dropping slowly now, but what we're seeing is a number of vacancies remaining live for much longer, and that tends to indicate that those that are looking for work don't necessarily hold the skills and experience to meet the live vacancies. So therefore, if you look at our business and our activity, a lot more of what we are doing now is seeking to recruit people who are already in work. I know that's a terrible thing. That's how our business operates. But we are having to go to the market to tempt people into new roles, because we're finding it incredibly difficult to get people out of that active job market. So if we can just move on to the next slide, please. Really quick slide this. That just shows that ratio I was talking about. So as you can see how, obviously in the pandemic 2020, the ratio rocketed back up to that 4.1 I mentioned, but we're right back down to that just over one jobless person per job advertised at the moment. So if I can just zone in onto professional services. So again, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we just click 5 down, then we'll save having to follow what I'm saying. So what I would say is I did do a little bit of research to just back up my sort of general knowledge. And one of the things that came out from quite a lot of stuff, talking to our customers, talking to actually advisors and professional services businesses that we work with, and also looking at some presses, actually is quite unprecedented for some people within the sector having to turn away work because of resource, just not having that resource readily available. But also going back to the point that I said, we have headhunting divisions within our business. Headhunting activity has led to sharp increases in salary, and we are seeing that in every sector. So, we've seen that in blue collar sectors where salary expectations have gone up 50%, logistics sectors where it's doubled, and across all of our professional services divisions, one of our biggest challenges are people being counted. So we're matching people to a job and they have 3 offers on the table, and then they're being counted offered by existing employer and other prospective employers increasing the offer to them. So some of the data that I was looking at from KPMG was saying that permanent professional services roles have peaked in August 2021. And as candidate availability has dropped, remunerations shot up. But that not only from the people I was talking to, so I was, well briefed for today, there seemed to be one of the real sort of compounding issues is that corporations are looking to recruit legal services, accountancy services in-house as they rebound from sort of COVID. So those corporations are actually competing with professional services firms for the skills and the talent. And obviously that's meant that employers are receiving less applications for each role. So again, quick graph just to, on the next slide, just to, I know it hasn't got the legal trade in there, sorry, industry within there, but what we're trying to show there is over certainly, let's just say from January, how, you know, a number of sectors, and this really does not change what sector you look at, and pretty much most markets, most countries and territories, obviously it's certainly in developed world, those vacancies have just rocketed since January 2021. So I think if we now move on.
Mark, should I just interject very briefly there? I don't want to take over your presentation, but just to sort of open it up for any other comments or anything that people might want to make, because I think from my experience as well, I mean, some of, you know, even on your last slide, some of the points are really, really important and, you know, have, as you rightly say, you know, come about through this period, this issue of lawyers, you know, working in-house for corporates rather than corporates going outside and instructing. I think that has become an issue, certainly, you know, in the UK, and I'd be interested to know whether this is something that's happening globally. And also this racking up of salaries. Absolutely, you know, I think, you know, the example, and I think perhaps at the last conference I mentioned that, you know, one of the big issues is that, you know, in London, you can have the sort of big city and they've got the big salaries, and yet somebody could be sitting in the north of England now, working remotely and commanding that sort of salary. So we really have seen this transition in the workplace, and I think retention for most law firms is absolutely key at the moment, retaining those good members of staff. I don't know whether anybody wants to put on the chat or wants to have an opportunity to sort of highlight any of the issues that are going on with your firms, or whether this is something that, you know, you have found to be an issue too. I mean, I'll let Mark continue with his presentation, but please do use the chat to sort of chip in and to have your comments.
Sorry, I was going at breakneck speed, Helen, because I was
watching
me 20-minute timer.
We're absolutely on time. I just think people don't want to generally use the chat as much. Thomas has just put a question on there. I'm going to let you carry on, Mark, but obviously people can interact on the chat throughout, and I think some of the points you're highlighting are absolutely relevant to law firms globally.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
So if we can, maybe I'll come back to Thomas's question at the end. If we summarise it. So, I mean, Thomas is talking about, you know, retention, and maybe hopefully, Thomas, what we talk about in the next couple of slides might give some tips, because, I mean, I know that may well be more for Helen, that question, but we are post-COVID, the biggest challenge our customers face, and we recruited, I'm going to say it further on the slide, for over 1,000 customers this year, is attraction of applicants and retention of current employees. And hopefully the next few slides might just give a few insights into that. So if we can click on to the next slide, please. And yeah, perfect. And then there's like 3 boxes, 1, 2, 3. There we go. So I'm getting ahead of myself. So for the last 12 months, what I've tried to include in the next set of slides is just tips. I'm not saying that, you know, our customers get it right or we get it right, but what we do see is those customers that are getting better traction on the market than others. So 2 key areas: retention of current teams and attracting new talent. So they are the areas that any customer we work with, or we're really interested when we're talking to our clients, is what they're doing around those 2 areas. And there seems to be a pattern that those that are getting it right have really zoned in on, and it's their brand, vision, and their values. So making sure that is very clear so people understand what the organization stands for. Being open to the mindset that they can be flexible around benefits and perks, and just because they did it another way pre-pandemic, they haven't got to carry on doing it like that in the future. Looking in on the organization and being honest about the imperfections is probably something else I would say. And then lastly is understanding the candidate market. So basically making sure that they are making their business attractive to the candidates. And sometimes that's a bitter pill to swallow, but it is a candidate market at the moment. There's no two ways about it. So if we can just click over to the next slide, please. And then if we click, so clear visions and values, lots of management consultants will tell you, make sure you've got your values right, but the amount of candidates that we lose within, say, the first 3 months in an organization and have done this year, because what is communicated to them via a website or via the interview process then is not lived and breathed within that organization, because there are behaviors that completely undermine it. It's a big problem that we come across. So it's about defining brand values, communicating those brand values, but most importantly, I think behaving and make sure the behaviors sort of underpin those values within an organization. Mid to long-term plan, that's important for people joining and people within an organization, because they want to know where they fit in, how they contribute, how they move on, what training, what development, what do they need to do, what commitment do they need to give to the organization to make sure that they contribute to that mid to long-term plan, and how does the business meet their aspirations? As I said earlier, well communicated vision and values. I know that we've talked about values once before, but not something that just sits on a wall or something that's in a handbook, but something that underpins all that the business does, whether it's, I said their financial targets, but make sure that, they are reiterated. Everything the organization's done is taken back to vision, values, even if it's about, we are looking to grow by X, Y, and Z because we're an aspirational business and we want to grow this organization, and we want to be recognized as this, and this is why we want to be meeting these financial targets. We deal with lots of companies, and our company as well, that we're sometimes embarrassed, but we're here to make money, and actually our success creates the success of all the people within the business. So we try not to hide away about how we communicate that within the organization. So if we jump on to the next one, I've tried to use a case study here to bring this to life. So if we just click on, that's it, perfect. So Hotel Chocolate is one of our, hopefully most people are aware of Hotel Chocolate. So Hotel Chocolate is a kind of high-end chocolatier business, started in the UK, but are massively expanding across America, Japan, Europe, incredibly aspirational business. But I use this case study because I think what they've done over the last 18 months, and we recruit from shop floor to director level for this business. We have a small team that work within this client, and they do a large proportion of all recruitment for them. But so their vision, if you like, is industry-leading employee engagement, resulting in a highly motivated team that delivers great customer experience and drives continuous innovation, two-way, open, honest, and ongoing dialogue. It's great words, but if we can click to the next slide, I just wanted to give you some ideas about how this business has then underpinned those words with actions. And again, I'll say we recruit roles from national minimum wage to, six-figure packages in this business, and it's got one of the lowest. It's got one of the best retentions of any customer we work for. So they launched this year the pod, very cheap. These apps where it can be tailored for a business. They're ultimately communication tools. They let people know how the business is progressing. It allows people access to training requirements. It's a simple communication tool. Next, please, next click. Weekly all employee briefing sessions. So they give their employees a voice, and they give them a voice with senior directors. The directors will talk about the challenges, the progress, the successes of the business on the week, any relevant updates, and it's two-way. So it goes back to that honest two-way communication that sits in the vision. Sorry, next one, please. Safe listening sessions across the board for everyone in the organization, so people can feel, I'll cover it a little bit more further on, because they wanted to make sure that they're a very inclusive employer and to make sure that they allow progression for the best talent, regardless of any sort of subconscious bias, let's put it that way. So, which is what this goes to, employee-led anti-racism and discrimination group. They are expanding worldwide and globally, so this has become even greater on their agenda. So they have a group vision, increase diversity in the workplace, and to foster active discussion, to shared understanding, highlight, challenge, and oppose discrimination. So away from, obviously they do not want discrimination in that organisation, but they also want to make sure that regardless of background, ethnicity, religion, the best people get the best opportunity for the best jobs to take that business forward. So, sorry, and then lastly, if we just click one more time, and a huge focus on mental health awareness. So train 30 mental health first aiders within the organisation, but they actively and consistently encourage an environment where people feel safe to raise mental health concerns, and make sure that people don't feel like there's going to be any stigma or any kind of repercussion. And whilst that's a small thing, all those points, when we recruit for them, we know that we feel totally confident, and not every person works out, but we feel so confident that that business lives and breathes its values because we see all of these things happening. So when people go in, we don't have the situation where people are leaving that organisation. I think importantly, they make all of these things available to everybody as well, because another thing that we've seen a lot of this year is incentives or increased packages. And I know commercially this is painful for new people joining the business, but then that isn't extended to those in the organisation already. And that just causes disillusionment within an organisation. So maybe that's a good time. I know there's a number of questions, but maybe it's a good time to jump on to the next slide, because it's about benefits and perks. And ultimately, money definitely talks in this market. Money is what people are asking about, but it doesn't necessarily retain, is our experience. So yeah, benefits and perks, crucial components of any package, obviously, and they make a significant difference to acquisition and retention. In the next few slides, I just want to try and demonstrate, I think, how we've seen candidate expectation accelerate through or post-COVID. So I've already mentioned it earlier. I think in a sort of like knee-jerk to win talent, and also manage their businesses commercially, we've seen employers launch fantastic attraction campaigns at great expense, but not extend them internally, which has caused a multitude of issues for them. And as I said then, if we kind of move on to the next slide, there's been a real acceleration. So this isn't our polling, this is Robert Half, large, obviously very large organisation that did an extensive poll around what employers are planning to do, also to introduce into their benefits as of 2022. And, no surprise, 78% of employers are looking to introduce remote working. And what we have definitely seen employers, and certainly professional services employers, benefit from this year is where they've introduced a really robust remote working platform. They're able to, I think, attract talent in areas that they would not have historically done so. So, we've been doing quite a lot of work with a London-based professional services business, and they were talking about how, they've introduced this remote working. It's really working well for them. A number of their people still want to remain in an environment where they're around their colleagues, but they've been able to recruit in more rural areas, Wales, and attract talent into their business that they simply couldn't have done before. So remote working is going to be right up there. Remote working is in most offers that we are making, or most companies that can offer it. Financial services struggle slightly, and flexible working hours, because people have become accustomed to being able to manage certain home life things around their work during COVID, and are now looking for that as a long-term sort of part of their package. So, so yeah, interesting stats. And if we just click onto the next slide, although these, again, this is from the same salary guide, these stats look fairly small. If you take them in context, it really sort of paints a picture. So this isn't necessarily saying 10% of companies are introducing stress reduction programs. What this is saying is 10% more businesses are introducing stress reduction programs, and 19% are going to extend the program they already have. And it's the same again, same pattern for flexible working hours. 11% are going to introduce them that didn't have them previously. So 50–60% may have already had that, but 31% are going to look to add and improve the offering that they historically had in 21. So it paints the picture that there's two areas. There's flexibility to manage that work-life balance, remove the need to commute into a city and all the expense that brings with it, the hours and the lost hours that brings with it, but also a real focus on mental health. So if we just click on to the next, so this is a LinkedIn poll, and it's quite interesting. It's very relevant, which is why I put it into this presentation right now, as we all face, additional lockdowns in Europe, and obviously the Omicron variant and the emergence of it. There's just some stats around, I think how the pandemic is still continuing to impact people's mindset. So if I can just click on to 39% of people in this LinkedIn poll that came out of this the Robert Half salary guide remain apprehensive about returning to the office. And then as a result of this, and I can speak firsthand of this because we've just massively reduced our head office space. If we just click 2 more times, please. If we click again, there we go, perfect. So in the poll, it was interesting that 67% of people classed themselves as primarily working from home, and employers, as I said, we've just done exactly this to allow a hybrid working environment. We've just reduced our office space, moved it into a rural location, and employers polled 23% looking to open offices in other parts of the country to facilitate that more flexible working approach. And then lastly, if we just click one more time on this particular piece, I saw this quote, and it was from, I took his name out actually, but it was from a MD of a large organization. I thought it was very true, because this is the challenge that as owners of organizations we now face, because not one size fits all. And he was saying that flexible working and well-being initiatives are now essential, but it's important that we don't, I guess, tailor our business purely to that, because where we have a lot of younger employees, culture remains key. And I know for our organization, our employees are really keen to still be able to come into the offices. And I'm in our head office now, and there is a group, they closed at 5 o'clock. It's 20 to 7. We have like pool tables and stuff. And as a group of people kind of having coffees, playing pool, they could have gone home 2 hours ago, but that kind of environment is really important. So if we can just click on one more time. So lastly, understanding the candidate market. So if I can just click over, and then I can summarize and we can get to a Q&A pretty quick. So I think all the good, the values, the vision, the mental health, the flexible working, it can actually be undone really quickly by just a few bad practices. So providing people with a voice is really important. We get asked this, and I still have a lot of interaction with a lot of our candidates that we place about, how do I contribute to an organization? How can I make, is it an environment where I can raise concerns? Pace right now is the #1 reason that a lot of the vacancies we are hiring for tend to fail, because we go through a process. The hirer is really, really keen to get the process moving because they've got an urgent need. And as we go through the process to final interview, it slows down. And then once that candidate is selected, it takes weeks for an offer to be made. And what happens is the candidate just goes and works because typically they're somewhere else because they're going to have a number of offers. So good people, they need pace. Living the values. So this is something we see, as I said earlier, candidates falling out of placement once they've started because the organization doesn't live up to what its website says. Try and stop the churn. Make sure everyone's included. Make sure that we look long and hard at the organization. Yes, commercially, we can only go so far, but actually, genuinely, we see it that people are sticking with some organizations when everything else is right in that organization, with the values, the vision, people understand where their progress is, and where people are building that in the organization, money doesn't always override their decision. Stick to the word, uphold promises, be consistent. People like consistency, in fact, love consistency, and commit to inclusivity, diversity, and tackle discrimination, because right now young people are very, very hot on that, and so they should be. You know, that they are incredibly important parts that a business, any business, takes them very, very seriously. And then lastly, stay flexible, because you know, we pay thousands and thousands of people every week. A year ago, 2 years ago, I'd have said there's no way we can have a hybrid working environment because we need our head office people in the office. There's there's about 8 people here today, and most people are working from home and doing those transactions. So, and it works for them. And that's because we face all of the same challenges. We are not the best payer. Other sort of large corporates would pay far better for the professional people in our organization. So we are trying to make sure that by enhancing holiday pay, giving flexible working, allowing remote working where it's needed, that we are attractive in every other way. So I think
that's great.
That takes us to questions and answers.
It does. Thanks very much, Mark. I mean, I think it just takes on to a Q&A, but I think what we're going to do is try to get into breakout rooms, because you've posed some really good issues there for the professional sector, as well as, you know, and not just in the UK or Europe. I mean, this is a global issue, isn't it? The pandemic has impacted on us all in terms of the working environment, and these are really sort of key issues for discussion. So I think what we'll do is go into those breakout rooms, and then you've posed some really key points there, which are coming up on the screen. And I think what we'd like people to do is to explore those together and to discuss how that is impacting on their businesses or their experiences. And to feedback to us. I'm sure that we can feedback to you, and I'm sure you'd be happy to answer any questions or anything that people have got that comes out of these breakout sessions.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there is any questions after, you know, like to come through and you want to put them on email, by all means, I'm happy to share them, and obviously it would be shared in confidence, answered in confidence. And if I can give any insight, you know, more than happy to do it. I've just tried to structure those questions there about, you know, what can be introduced to improve recruitment and retention. You know, how has the pandemic changed expectations, and what does limit flexibility? Because, you know, we deal with many organisations far bigger than us, and you know, often when I'm talking to sort of board members about their retention issues, they'll say, "Oh yeah, but we can't." But when we explore it, we can. And you know, candidates are looking for change, and there's no two ways about it. So thanks for inviting me. Hope you will enjoy the rest of the session.
I know you've got to jump off, but thank you. That was really insightful. And so for everybody else who is remaining for this breakout session, we're going to go into the usual groups. The questions have been posed on the screen. You've heard some of the issues that Mark has raised, and some of the sort of issues we're all experiencing. So hopefully you'll be able to explore these together. Thank you.
Well, I think we have come to an end of the planned session. It was great to have you all in the breakout rooms. So now I think I would like to thank our guest speaker, Mark, for a very informative session. Lots for us to think about. Our board members, Helen, of Aaron's for managing proceedings so seamlessly, other board members for keeping discipline in the breakout rooms, and all the contributors, our prospective new member, Wendell Rosen, and all of you for joining this event. And once again, congratulations again to Hoxford. This is great to have you in IAG. And of course, the dynamic team, Holly and Harry, for all your support in organizing and running these events so brilliantly. And as a last thing, well, but this was not fully planned, using this opportunity, I would like to mention that for one of us, this would be the last meeting he takes part in. I'm talking about Jan from Ten Holter, who actually decided to transfer his obligations to a younger generation. Thank you, Jan, for being with us those years, all those years. But you must remember that you may never retire from IAG. This is impossible. I look forward to seeing all the members again in February on our first assembly of 2022. For those of you that would like to stay on for the optional networking, you will now be sent to one of two breakout rooms to continue discussions with your fellow members and guests. You will be either assigned to a room hosted by me or by Jim Miller. Then you can vote which one was better. I am sure that Jim would win, but you will have the option of moving. So you can vote by moving from one room to another. So if you do wish to move rooms and you find out that you're unable to do so, please send a request to Dynamic and they will help you. All right, guys.
No one's allowed to leave my room, Thomas.
Sorry?
No one's allowed to leave my room. I'm not going to.
Is it blocked? Is it blocked by Dynamic? So just wait for me because I will simply join you.
Hey, Jim, it's Hotel California. You can never leave.
All right. So are we ready to go to breakout rooms, or do we stay all in one?